Hello, my travelers of the Uncanny. Today I come to you with a little disclaimer for today's episode. Contrary to the first two episodes, this is gonna be an interview. It is going to be a little bit longer than usual, and the first narration is going to be in Italian. So feel free to skip 6 minutes after this disclaimer. As you might have noticed from the two previous episodes, I'm clearly not an English speaker, like it's not my first language. So I beg you to be lenient for today's episode because we are both not English speakers, but we are trying our best. I hope you will enjoy. I had a lot of fun recording with my friend who is also a guide, so let it begin. Era chiamata la Bella Cenci per la sua gran bellezza. Infatti era la più bella zitella di Roma e mentre poteva essere la più affortunata di tutte le ragazze di quel tempo, perché era tanta ricca, era invece la più disgraziata, la più infelice del mondo. C'aveva il padre che era un boiaccia, ma un boiaccia tale che era il terrore della famiglia. Aveva cacciato i figli maschi da casa e li faceva morire di fame. A casa poi, sia con la moglie che con la figlia, era un tiranno. Gli faceva mancare da mangià, e da bere, e da vestire, e li ingariava in tutti i modi. Bugiarà non fossi stato ricco, manco male, ma invece ci aveva i quattrini che gli superavano la testa. Dunque, lo possino ammazzarlo bello che morto, lo faceva per cattiveria, perché era il primo zozzone del mondo. E quella povera infelice della figlia mannava giù in santa pacenza e soffriva le pene dell'inferno. E tutto sarebbe rimasto così se quel puzzone del padre si fosse accontentato di trattare la famiglia la peggio monnezza del mondo. Ma c'era di peggio. Vedendo crescere in bellezza la Bella Cenci, non gli prese, fa vergogna a dirlo, non gli prese il ramo lo possino scannarlo de godesse la figlia? E ogni tanto cercava di agguantarla indertramente e stava solo a letto per farci il comitaccio suo. Vi potete immaginare lo spavento di quella povera ciorcinata? Non c'aveva più una goccia di sangue in delle vene. La madregna, che la madre buona gli era morta da un pezzo, aveva da vedere e fa mosca, sì no, amare lei. Consiorno alla Bella Cenci te fa un mormoriale al papa d'allora, sui cattivi trattamenti di suo padre. Lei lo fece, ma avete avuto risposta voi che non gli avete fatto? A così lei. Intanto la persecuzione di quel puzzone del padre, di quel cannibale, non spiccevano mai. La cosa era ida puro all'orecchio del ragazzo della Bella Cenci e vi potete immaginare come ci mangiava l'aio e che odio si sentiva in petto per quel puzzone del padre. E i ferri si arriscallarono al punto che decise la prima volta che gli capitava a pollo di fargli la pellaccia, in modo che quando la Bella Cenci la notte si chiudeva in della sostanza per andarsene a dormire, il ragazzo gli faceva la guardia di nascosto per vedere se il Marco ci appizzava. E non ti dubità che una notte vide il padre mezzo ignudo uscì quatto dalla sostanza. Lui gli si mise alle tacche e lo vede entrare in della stanza della Bella Cenci. Lui allora sguainò lo stocco e mentre quel puzzone scopriva la figlia che dormiva gli zompò addosso, gli infirzò lo stocco in della schina e lo stese freddo accanto al letto di quella povera innocente. Poi la svegliò e gli fece: finalmente me lo son lavorato, e gli insegnò il padre longo stecchito sul pavimento in uno sguazzo di sangue. Vi potete immaginare lo spavento della figlia e della madre, ma il corpo era fatto e non c'era rimedio. Bisognava pensare a salvarsi dalla giustizia. Allora lì per lì, tutti d'accordo, alzò di peso il cadavere del morto e lo buttò da una loggetta che dava sulla campagna, per far vedere come si era morto se fosse buttato dalla finestra. Il ragazzo della Bella Cenci poi pensò subito a pia l'erba fumaria all'estero. E tutto sarebbe ido a finire bene se la Bella Cenci fosse stata una poveretta, ma i quattrini che c'aveva furono la causa della sua rovina. Defatti il papa che c'era allora pensò di pigliare quel protesto per mannare tutti i cenci a morte e di impossessarsi di tutti i beni che assommavano a qualche centinaro e centinaro di migliaia di scudi. Detto fatto, fu arrestata la madregna, la Bella Cenci e tutti i fratelli, e gli fu fatto il processo e furono tutti condannati a morte e a essere tenagliati e squartati. Infine entra un fratelluccio della bella Cenci che non c'aveva nemmanco 12 anni. Dice che quello che non fece l'avvocato Farinaccia per salvare manco quella povera figlia non vi potete immaginare. All'ultimo momento il Papa si degnò, guarda sprecone, a fa la grazia al ragazzino col patto che stesse sul parco a godesse tutta quella popò de carneficina fatta alla madre, alla sorella, ai fratelli e poi si facessi castrà come un gattino. Dice che il giorno della giustizia a Roma ce fu Buriana forte. Quando comparì sul parco quella povera figlia della bella Cenci successe un tumulto. Mastro Titta dovette mettere mano alla Durlindana per salvarsi la pelle. Tutto il popolo voleva per forza salvare la bella Cenci. E se non fossero stati risurdati, gli sarebbe riuscito. Ma fu tutto inutile, perché giustizia fu fatta e quella povera figlia, per grazia speciale, gli fu soltanto tagliata la testa. Dice che lei, prima di morire, fece sapere al Papa che se gli salvava la vita, avrebbe fatto rifare tutto de nuovo con la chiara dell'ova ponte rotto. Ma il Papa, ora sorda, non intese niente e dopo fatta la carneficina si scirpò tutti i beni della famiglia Cenci e ci arricchì la sua famiglia. Dice che fra la roba che s'arranciò c'era pure Villa Borghese. Anzi, la maggior parte di quelli beni agnedono a finire tutti in mano dei principi borghesi che erano, non so per parte di chi, parenti del Papa. Welcome to the Atlas of the Uncanny, a collection of stories, myths, and strange creatures drawn from the edges of maps and the corners of memory. This is not a place of answers, but of echoes of creatures half remembered, histories whispered, and wonders that refuse to stay buried. Today we are going to talk about restless ghosts and spirits that roam around Rome. What a joke! And we are not going to do it alone. Introducing us to the most famous ghosts roaming around is a true certified guide that takes actual tourists around and shows them the best and unique places of the city. Welcome, Patrizio. It's a pleasure having you here.
It's a pleasure for me, and welcome to all the travelers of the Uncanny.
So, before we dive into the episode, tell us a little bit about you. Where do you take the tourists? What's your favorite place? And have you ever done a ghost tour?
So I'm a tour guide in Rome. It's about 10 years now, so I'm still a young guide. Yes, I want to think of that. I'm
Yes.
still young. And mostly I take tourists in the most touristic places like Colosseum and Roman Forum or Vatican museums and Sistine Chapel. But my favorite place in the city is the so-called Cappuccini Crypt, not the
Oh,
drink. Okay, not the drink,
cappuccino.
not cappuccino, but the cappuccinis are religious order. They are monks and is under a church. And if you go to see that crypt, you will see that everything is made out of bones and human
Wow.
parts. So,
Wow.
maybe it's the right place for the people that are listening to this podcast.
It sounds really uncanny,
Yes, and really creepy, but really beautiful in some ways.
almost romantic. Oh.
Almost romantic, yes. The St. Valentine's Day, it is the perfect place to go. Yeah. I'm gonna see bones of monks died 200 years ago. Yeah.
It sounds like the perfect date. And what about
Yes.
the ghost tours?
Yes, I do ghost tour around the city because it's a funny take on a tour. It's not like the boring thing that you see always the same thing, but you learn a lot about the story of the city and the story of these cursed people and ghosts.
In the introduction, I tell the story of La Bella Cenci, the beautiful Beatrice Cenci, a woman said to have been tragically unlucky in her life. She lived under a father who allegedly abused her. Her mother died when she was young, and the dad was ultimately violently killed, and it sounds like he really deserved it. And her story ends with her being executed. Some claim it happened for suspicious reasons. Is any of this true? Is it a true crime story? What's the real deal here, Patrizio?
This happened so many centuries ago. We are in the 1599 that we are not 100% sure. But we know that Beatrice was killed because she was accused uh, to kill her father. But is it possible that a young girl of 16 years old could do that? Probably not. So there are a lot of speculations about that, that
Mhm.
probably the
Yeah.
Pope wanted the money of the Cenci family because it was a very wealthy family, noble and wealthy family. And so, if you kill everyone, all the money goes to you. I mean, the Pope. And so Beatrice, with the mother of Beatrice and the two brothers of Beatrice, were all killed in front of St. Angel Castle, Castel Sant'Angelo. That was the place where the public executions took place back in the days. And she was beheaded, and so her mother. And the two brothers of Beatrice were ripped apart. Yeah, a very funny way to be killed, as you can imagine. And we know that she was killed on the 1599, and the day of the execution, all the people in Rome were so against that decision that they have to close all the streets around Casentengio Castle to avoid any kind of riot against the Pope because, Francesco Cenci, the father of Beatrice, he was an abuser. He was a very bad guy. All the people in the city knew the truth about that. And so they were all against the
Mhm.
decision that the Pope made. And so they have to close all the streets
Yeah.
around the place of the execution. And at the end,
So
Beatrice.
the people didn't actually want Beatrice Cenci to be killed.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Also because was not possible that a 16 years old girl she could kill her father, stab him, and then crush the skulls because when they found the body of Francesco, he was stabbed many times and the skull was totally crushed. So probably was one of the brother of Beatrice. But we don't know the truth, the real truth. And so at the end, she was buried in the undergrounds of a church on the Gianicolo Hill,
Mhm.
San Pietro e Montorio. But she became one of the
Okay.
most famous ghosts in the city. Do you want to know why?
Interesting. Yes, of course, I do wanna know why.
Because in the 1700, at the end of the 1700, Rome was conquered by the French army, Napoleon, French army. And the French were pretty against the Catholic Church. The Pope ran away from the city, and for a little bit,
Yes.
there was no Pope in Rome. The French people were quite against the Catholic Church, and so they turned a lot of churches into stables or like hostels for the troops, for the soldiers. And that happened to the church where Beatrice Cenci was buried, San Pietro in Montorio. And the story say that some
I
French
see.
soldiers went down in the crypt. They found the grave of Beatrice. They found the body of Beatrice, and they found the body, and close to her body, the head, because she was beheaded. And they took the head of Beatrice and they started to
Ah,
play
yeah.
football with the head of the pool girl. And so the head at some point disappeared. We don't know what
No.
happened to the head. Yes. The story say that every 9/11 at night, if you walk on the bridge that is in front of St. Angel Castle, the place where Beatrice was executed, you can meet the ghost of a young girl asking to the people if they know where her head is. And she's Beatrice. Still looking for her head. Poor girl.
Oh, that is so sad.
Yes, very sad, very sad.
But how can she ask if she has no head?
This is a good question, actually. I don't know. She's a ghost. So in the afterlife, she has a head, apparently. So she's looking for the real head. Yeah, this is a very good question. The uncanny is like that.
Yeah.
Everything could happen in the uncanny. You're gonna beheaded ghost asking people for the head.
It
All that thing about the Pope, that maybe it was the Pope that wanted the money of the family. We don't know if it's true. The popes
Mhm.
back in the days were not saints. Let's just say that. So they were kings. They acted like kings. They wanted
Yes,
money. They wanted
very true.
power. And so, probably that was true.
Very, very true. And if you wanna know more about Beatrice Cenci, just go to Castel Sant'Angelo on the 9/11 and try to find her, and you can ask her all the question you want. You can even find out how can she talk without a head. So we very rightly said that popes were not saints back in the days, and they actually had a lot of power. And well, they still have power, to be fair. But I heard that there is a juicy story involving a pope and a very smart, cunning woman.
Yes, that is true. Is a story involving Pope Innocent the Tenth of the Pamphili family and Donna Olimpia Maidalchini, that was called in Rome the Pimpaccia or the Papessa, that means the female pope. She was a noble woman and she became the mistress of the pope. And the Pope was totally under her control, and she was a very smart woman. You know, in a time where women were in the house taking care of kids and that's it, she was a very clever woman. She was a very ahead of her time, and she understood the power of the feminine power. And she was so clever that she was the one that convinced the Pope to give to Bernini, one of the most famous artists of the Baroque age. We are in the 1600. So she was the one who convinced the Pope to give to Bernini the job to make the Fountain of the Four Rivers. There is in Piazza Navona. It's one of the most beautiful places in town,
Oh,
and was
yes. Yes, it
and was
is.
the and was the place where there was the palace of the Pope. The Pope used to live there. The Pamphili family used to live there. And so thanks to Donna Olympia, now we have the Fountain of the Four Rivers in Rome.
Oh, man. No matter if they are popes or commoners, they are all very easy to manipulate nowadays as it was back then.
Yes, absolutely. And he was totally under her control. So it's the reason why the people start to call her Papessa, so the female pope. Because actually, at that time, was Donna Olympia who controlled the city. But she was also pretty greedy. And so at some point, the Pope was dying. And when Donna Olympia understood that the situation was changing, and maybe the next Pope could be not so friendly with her. And so before that, the poor Pope Innocent passed away, she took all the money of the Pamphili family and she tried to run away from the city
Wow.
of Rome on her chariot and say bye bye to the Pope. You're dying. I'm gonna live my luxury life in another place.
Living the dream.
Yes, everyone would do the same thing, and say, "Hi, old man, I'm going away with your money because now you're dying." But the story said that why she was on the chariot, and she was more or less in the era of Trastevere, in on a bridge, Ponte Sisto Bridge.
Mhm.
The chariot fell in the river in the Tevere, and so she drowned with all the money and all the gold.
That's what greed does to you.
Yes, if you want too much, you're gonna end in the river. And so after this happened, she became one of the ghosts of Rome. And the stories say that sometimes at night, when you are walking in Piazza Navona or on Sisto Bridge, so Ponte Sisto, you can hear the sound of a chariot and you can see a chariot on fire going in the Tevere and disappeared. And so that is the ghost of
Oh.
Donna Olympia tried to run away from the city.
Oh, wow. That's a really nice story. Kind of female empowerment, but also a cautionary tale. So we've talked about two women ghosts. One of them was Beatrice Cenci. And when we talked about Beatrice Cenci, we named Mastro Titta, who was an infamous official executioner in Rome. And apparently, he became a ghost too. Probably the only ghost being haunted by other ghosts.
Yes, that is true. Mastro Titta actually lived 200 years after that Beatrice Cenci was killed at the end of the 1700. So, in that story that you read at the beginning, Belli, the poet, he mixed a little bit, these characters, but historically, Mastro Titta lived long after Beatrice. But yes, he was a very famous executioner, the most famous executioner in all the Roman history. And he also became a ghost, of course. And he was a very accurate kind of man because we found the notebook with all the names of all the people that he killed during his job, and 500. And he
500 people.
500 people. He used to write on that notebook the name of the poor guy or poor woman or poor person, and then the day, the year, and the way that he killed them. And so we can learn a lot about these these things,
So there was more than one way to execute someone. It was not just beheading.
If you do something bad, you're gonna die on a very painful way in front of everyone. So everything was made to control the people.
Yes, I mean, it was a form of entertainment and control. And where is Mastro Titta now? Like, where can we find his ghost?
Okay, so Master Titta was also a very gentleman because he was an executioner, but he was not mean. He was not like evil. And we know that before that he killed someone, he used to offer to the condemned to death chewing tobacco as like, some kind of
Uh-huh.
last wish, last offer. That was also a way that to make everything less painful because if you are chewing tobacco for like 10 or 20 seconds, you're a little bit like dieseling, you're not like into yourself. If they give you chewing tobacco, you are not present anymore and it's better for you. It's less painful.
Okay. Very interesting.
So during the night, in the little streets of Borgo, because it's an area with a lot of narrow streets, you can meet someone offering you chewing tobacco, and that is Masfrotita.
Oh, nice. You can chew ghostly tobacco.
Exactly, yeah. You can have a night out with Masfrotita, probably. I don't know. You can go grab a beer with Masfrotita and chewing tobacco together. Yeah. But,
Yeah, it sounds like a fun guy.
yeah, he's a fun guy. And, also there was another place in Rome that is connected to Mastro Titta because all the murderers and all the, people that were condemned to death, they were not buried into cemeteries or graveyards, but they were buried in an area that now is right outside the walls of Rome. It's called Muro Torto. That is not far from Piazza del Popolo. And
Ah,
that was the area where all the people that were killed and executed, they were buried there with no graves, no names, because the people that have to forgot about them. And the story say that the ghost of all the people that were killed and buried over there are still hunting that area. And in Muro Torto, there is a street and a lot of cars passing there. It's a very busy area during the day, traffic and cars, bus, and all the things. And they say that sometimes it happens that out of nowhere, when you are with your car in that area, Muro Torto, your car stopped and they say that these are the ghosts of the people that were killed to try to say to the living people, remember me, I'm here.
oh, oh, so sad.
Yeah.
This is wow. That's interesting and it's moving, really moving.
Yeah, yeah,
So are
yeah.
these ghosts, these souls, are these what we call the lemures?
Yes, in some way, yes. There were the lemures. The lemures were the ghosts during the Roman age of the people that were killed in violent way. So yes, they are the same thing, the lemures.
Okay, and what about the festival that we mentioned also in the first episode, the Lemuria?
Yeah, so the Lemuria was the festival held by the Romans to exorcise the souls of the dead ghosts. We can call it like that, or the ghost of the people that died in violent way took place in May. And that was a way to protect also the family
Mhm.
against the bad influences of these ghosts and the Lemuri. So, the Romans were very superstitious.
all these Roman traditions, the Lemuria, and then the ghosts, do we still have ghosts from ancient Rome nowadays in modern Rome, in modern times?
Yes, we have the ghost of an emperor because we are in Rome. So, of
Oh,
course, we have the
wow.
ghost of an emperor. And the emperor is Nero.
Whoa, the worst one or best one or the very well known Nero.
Yes, so Nero became famous for the big fire of Rome. The
Yeah,
story said that he set a big part of the city on fire because he wanted to build in that area a private palace for himself, the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. And then the story said that while
yes.
Rome was burning, he was on a terrace playing the harp and singing, watching the fire of Rome. So maybe it's not true because Rome was mostly made in timber and wood, especially the suburbs. And so they used oil lamps back then. So there was a fire like every day, I suppose, but like every 3, 4 days. So there was a huge fire during the time of Nero, but maybe it was not the emperor who set the city on fire. That is not true.
Uh-huh.
But Nero was really hated.
This is true. And the Colosseum, in Italian, il Colosseo, takes his name from a huge statues, like 30 meters tall, huge statues of the emperor that he built close to this Colosseum. And that's why it has this name, because it's colossal. Is this true?
So it's true, but it's happened in two different times. So you have to think that the era where now the Colosseum is originally was the garden of the palace of Nero, the Domus Aurea, and he put in his garden a huge statue of himself, the Colossus. Then after that Nero died, the next emperor Vespasian, he built close to that statue the amphitheater, and the emperor was Vespasian. And so, because the statue was close to the amphitheater and the statue was called Colossus, they called the amphitheater Colosseum.
Ah, so that's the story.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Nero became a ghost because he killed himself. He killed himself because at the end, the people were not so happy about Nero anymore. And so, before that, he was killed by others. He said, "Okay, I'm gonna kill myself." And the story say that then the body of the emperor was cremated. The ashes were put in an urn, and they were put in the grave, the family grave of Nero. There was in Piazza del Popolo, and the other now is called Piazza del Popolo. The father of Nero belonged to a family, noble family
Uh-huh.
called the Domiziano Bardi, and there was the family grave there, and the ashes of Nero were put in that grave with all the relatives. And close to this grave, there was a walnut tree.
Okay.
And long after the end of the Roman age, the people in Rome, we are in the 1200, something like that, in the medieval age. So the people of Rome, they started to say that at night they could be the ghost of Nero in the area close to the grave. And that area also became a place where the witches and the demons used to meet. And so the people of Rome were scared by this thing. And at that time was Pope in Rome, Pasquale II. And Pasquale II had a vision. He saw the Virgin Mary say to him, "You have to destroy that grave. You have to cut that tree and you have to build a church in my name to purify the area." And so they did that. They destroyed a grave, they cut the walnut tree, and they built a church. And the church is still there, and it's called the Church of Santa Maria del Popolo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we didn't need more churches, but still.
Yeah, we have 900 churches in Rome, so maybe too many. And so one version of the story said that after all of this, the ghost of Nero disappeared. But there is another version of the story that said that because the grave was destroyed, so the ashes of Nero were gone. And so this version say that you can meet the ghost of Nero wandering around Piazza del Popolo looking for his ashes and asking people, "Where are my ashes?" Same thing of Beatrice Cenci. So
Oh.
apparently in Rome, the ghosts are asking ghosts. They are wanna connect with people asking things. I don't know.
Yeah, they are all looking for something.
Yeah, like all of us.
Very true. Looking for the meaning of life. Amazing, Patrizio. Thank you for this introduction to these very interesting and sometimes sad stories. I guess these are the main ghosts in Rome. And I want to ask you now a more personal point of view. Do you have a favorite ghost?
Yes, I have it. And it's not one of the ghosts that we talk about during this podcast.
Oh, yeah? Who is it?
It's a she, and she's Miss Salina. Miss Salina, the wife of an emperor, Emperor Claude, the third wife of the Emperor Claude. Just to make you understand, she was renamed Meretrix Augusta, that in Latin means the imperial prostitute.
Oh,
Yes.
that sounds promising.
Yeah. Yeah, so she was a woman, a beautiful woman, young woman, about 20 years old. Claude, instead, the Emperor Claude Claudio, was pretty old. And she was a woman with a real appetite. She had a lot of lovers. She became popular in Rome for that because she cheated on Claude many, many times. And so at the end, she was killed by the emperor. She was executed when she was 23 years old. Because why why the Emperor Claude was not in Rome in the 48 AD, she married one of her lovers, Gaio Silio. And when the emperor found out this, he said, okay, that's enough. And so she was killed. She was executed at 23 years old. But the ghost of Messalina is still hunting the area of Monti. There was the Suburra back in the days. It's
Okay.
the area where the poor people used to live. Because Messalina, in her wild nights, she used to dress up as a common woman and have fun with commoners in that area, in the Suburra. And so the ghost of Messalina, she's hunting that area, and they say that, you could meet a ghost of a very attractive woman asking you for sex.
Let me get this straight. So, when she was alive,
Mhm.
she married two men at the same time. And while being married to two men at the same time, she was also having fun around the cities with poor and rich and young and old. And then, after her death, she kept searching for it. Like she was never satisfied.
No, no, no. She's really greedy. Like Olympia Maidalchini that we talked before, but Olympia Maidalchini was greedy for money. Instead, Messalina, she was greedy for other things. But maybe it's better.
Yeah.
So she's my favorite ghost because she doesn't care about nothing. Even after death, she's still looking for sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, queen.
Amazing. I think she's my favorite ghost too now.
Yes.
The best.
And so the next time that you come to Rome, we can go together to find Miss Salina and have fun with her. And also Mastro Titta, chewing tobacco, have sex, and have fun.
Crazy times in Rome. And next time you go to Rome, find also a living person in Patrizio who will take you to an amazing tour experience. So, thank you, Patrizio, very, very much for joining me in this journey and for taking me and our listeners to the uncanny ghosts of Rome.
Thank you, and was a real pleasure to spend time with you and talking about all these stories. There are so many stories in Rome, so you have to come to Rome. Come to Rome. It's a very nice city.
Definitely a beautiful, beautiful city. Thank you. And who knows, maybe we will do another episode on the Cappuccini crypta, which is not the drink, but the religious order.
Yes, who knows?
And so we close today's page of the Atlas of the Uncanny. Thank you for exploring with me. Remember, stories like this don't end when the telling stops. They linger, they follow, they wait to be recognized. If you enjoy this journey, consider subscribing, leaving a review, leaving 5 stars, thank you, or sharing the show with a fellow wanderer of the strange. Also, you can follow the Instagram, the Atlas of the Uncanny, and we are now also on TikTok. Again, the Atlas of the Uncanny. Until next time, mind the shadows, question the familiar, and never assume you know the whole map. Because the uncanny is never far away.